Hello YouTube viewers, how are you? How are you all? This is Lizzie, the English broadcast Cosmos TV. It's very nice to meet you. The Multicultural Welfare Center, which broadcasts Cosmos TV, is in simple terms called the Tabok Center, and is a welfare organization of a cooperated body that supports multicultural families and foreigners to settle safely in Korea. Cosmos TV has been recently released by the Korean Ministry of Justice and provide details of the international map of foreigners who are living illegally. But still many people are still curious about this system. So today I prepared an interview, a special guest who works for immigration. Through this interview we will solve many of your questions. Then shall we meet together? Hello, first, thank you for taking time for interview. Thank you. Introduce yourself to your viewers.
네, 안녕하세요.
Yes, hello. My name is Young Chang-sik, and I'm working at the Immigration Policy Division of the Ministry of Justice. I was previously in charge of visa, insurance, and sojourn matters at the Immigration Office. However, I'm currently responsible for the Immigration Office at Incheon International Airport.
Yes, so let's offer a warm welcome to Mr. Yong Chang-sik, the head of the Immigration Policy Division, and being with the question with our viewers are so curious to find out about. Thank you for agreeing to this interview despite your busy schedule. Then for the first question, as we know, the Immigration Bureau already has an exciting voluntary departure system. So what can you tell us about the new system that is different from the previous system?
이번 자진 출국제
There are two main differences in this voluntary departure system. Firstly, if you make a voluntary report, the confirmation system will allow you to re-enter. Secondly, the main point is that a financial penalty will be imposed after using the voluntary reporting system. So, the biggest change is that you will be fined even if you leave the country voluntarily.
So it's safe to say that this voluntary departure system is a certain guaranteed re-entry. Then let's move on to the second. The second question is, what are the specific benefits of the illegal immigration voluntary departure system that are benefit proposed this time?
The specific benefit of the current voluntary departure system is that those who report have the possibility to return to Korea. The way the re-entry system works is that after you go to the voluntary immigration office and report, you will receive a departure certificate at the airport just before you leave the airport. After that, you will take your departure certificate to the official desk and receive a visa. Then, this person will receive a short-term visa, a C3 90-day visa. If you return to Korea and if you apply for High Korea, you should make sure to depart again within the period of stay as usual. After that, we have a system in place where you can receive a C3 90-day visa. That is the biggest thing. The other thing is, up until now, if you did manage to re-enter, you could not re-enter with an international student visa or a business visa or anything like that. But this time, the voluntary departure system allows you to re-enter and even change your visa to another status of residence. Many foreign workers in this country have earned some money and they want to study abroad, but they have some difficulties. So, with this system, it is possible to study and do business and change their visa status, so it's a huge benefit.
Yes, thank you. Thus, despite it being difficult in the past for illegal immigration to change the visa or residential status upon leaving the country voluntarily, this new system will make that process much easier. Okay, so let's move on to the third question. Previous voluntary departure system had a fine up to the 20 million won. What will the standard of being introduced in the new system amount to?
The criterion of those penalties are very complicated. Because it is complicated, I prepared a table for better understanding. After July, even those who depart voluntarily will be fined.
부과 기준은 불법 체류 기간이
The amount of the fine
달라요.
depends on the length of your stay.
기간이 1개월
If you have
미만이면
overstayed 1 month or less,
쭉 올라가서
the fine is 1 million won.
현행에서는
And if it has been more than 3 years,
2천만
it is around 20 million won.
출국을 하는 경우에는
However,
부가가
for those who depart voluntarily,
10%
the charge is about 30%.
600만 원 정도가 부가가
Currently, the maximum charge for voluntary departure is 6 million won,
3월 이후에
but it will be different after the crackdown.
이후에 단속이 시작됐을
The
때
crackdown will begin in March, and the fines will be imposed without any reduction, applying the current amount.
벌금이 부과됩니다.
So, what happens if they have to pay a fine, but they don't have the money?
없다라고 이제 많이들
Does it mean that if they can't pay the fine, they can't leave the country?
얘기하는데
It is not like that.
벌금을
If they can't pay the fine, they will be forcibly deported and they will be blocked forever from re-entering.
자체가 이제
Currently,
봉쇄가 됩니다.
if you can't pay the fine, you will be blocked for 5 years, 3 years, or 2 years. It was divided like this, but now, if you can't pay the fine, you will be blocked forever from re-entering.
Yes, thank you. Then it's the fourth question. What should be done in the case where someone decides to live through the system, is not able to leave the country because some health issues such as pregnancy?
네.
There are always those who have difficulties. Therefore, we don't make a voluntary departure system like this for just 1 or 2 months, but we have given time until June. For the voluntary departure this year, there has been time to prepare from December last year. Despite this, there are still some people who have difficulties, and there are 3 types of situations. One is those that may defer their departure because they cannot leave in a short period of time due to illness, pregnancy, childbirth, or similar reasons. The second type is those who have difficulty to leave. There are difficulties that cannot be solved, such as a serious disease, taking care of your children, marriage, and taking care of your spouse's children. If you marry a citizen and are taking care of your children or caring for the parents, you cannot leave. For people in situations like this, we offer a special payment system. This is different from the first situation. In the first case, you leave, but it is delayed. In the second case, you cannot leave. Lastly, there is another type. This type means if you have a big obstacle to leave, such as a disease that causes you to remain. For those people, there is a system that allows you to leave the country while keeping your intentions. So we are sorting out these types of situations with difficulties regarding departure, and we provide benefits in various forms.
Yes, thank you. So we've come to understand that if you are raising a child who is born through international marriage with a Korean partner, you can still receive a conditional residence permit. Great. Also, in regards to human rights protection, we could find out that there are several special measures being put in place. Then the fifth question, the biggest benefit of the voluntary departure system is that you can get a full visa and then return to Korea again. Could you elaborate on the process for people who voluntarily leave the country with a given period and want to re-enter Korea?
출국을 할 때 가장 중요한
The most important thing is that when you leave, you make a voluntary report. This voluntary report should not be on the same day you leave. You should go to the immigration office to report 3 to 15 days before your departure. You have to take your passport with you when you go to report. When you get to the immigration office, tell them which month, which day you leave. Then the immigration office will receive your voluntary report. After you receive the report, they will tell you, be sure to depart by this day, and make sure you receive a confirmation of departure certificate at the airport. When you go to the airport, there is an immigration office with a public service center. Make sure you come 2 hours earlier to the public service. Make sure you come 2 hours earlier to the public service center at the airport on the day you are leaving. Stop by the civil service center and tell them, I'm leaving and I must get a departure confirmation. In case there are people who don't get the certificate, they will be checking at the departure hall to make sure to have it. If you receive this document when you leave, if you left in March or earlier, 3 months later, you can receive a C3 90-day visa. For those who are leaving in April, they can apply after 4 months. It is possible to apply later for those who are leaving late in May, June. Therefore, for those who are leaving in June, it is possible to apply after 6 months. And the validity period of the voluntary departure confirmation is 1 year. So, I left the country, and in 3 months, do I have to come back? No, this is not the case. This is valid for 1 year. For example, if you leave today in March, then you can use it until March of next year. Then, for example, if you went out in March, you can apply starting from June, and you can apply until March of next year if you have the confirmation letter. You might ask, what happens if you leave voluntarily? But you can get a visa because the diplomatic mission is different or the policy of the Ministry of Justice is different. When we issue the voluntary departure certificate, we will enter all information on the voluntary departure certificate. When you apply for a visa for overseas, the information will be automatically entered when the certificate number is entered by the overseas office processing your visa application. You don't need to worry about it.
Yes, thank you. In order to re-enter after voluntary departure, Director Young said, you must make sure that the visit to immigration office at the airport of departure can change the departure from the voluntary departure confirmation. Then for the sixth question, it's already been some time since this system has been implemented. So far, are there many people who report voluntary departure?
Yes, there are many. Formerly, the monthly average was around 180 people. But now, there are about 330 people departing voluntarily each month. So it is almost double. Does this mean that there is not much benefit, so not that many people are going? That is not really accurate. It seems like there are a lot of people who are looking at the new policy and still hesitating about what to do. Starting from March, the crackdown will be strongly enforced. Until now, it has not been strong, but once the crackdown begins in March, there will be strong restrictions. So, even those who want to depart voluntarily cannot be issued with a confirmation certificate. After the crackdown, they have to pay the penalty. Therefore, they will make a decision before March. Until this scheme finishes at the end of June, you can file your own report in advance, and you won't have any trouble with crackdowns or anything like that. Therefore, I anticipate a lot more applicants after March. There are cases when people are getting ready to leave the country but cannot afford to buy air tickets. We strongly encourage you to report before March to indicate your willingness to depart voluntarily.
It is expected that many people will be beaten as the information on the system expands gradually. Then this is the seventh question. Won't there be a lot of illegal residents this time and next as well? After this period is done, are there any plans for the illegal residents?
One special feature of the special system announced this time is that fines will be imposed after March. Even if you leave voluntarily, you will be fined. Subsequent crackdowns will inevitably result in penalties, and the situation where if you leave by a certain date, there will be no fine, will be finished. But this announcement included information about the visa status after departure. Therefore, there will be no further periods of voluntary departure without penalty in the future. Then, actually, after February, there will be new illegal residents. For those people, there will be no benefit. Since we have announced the whole revised system, they should not expect any special opportunities in the future.
After this period is over, the crackdown will be tightened. Then from here, I have another short question to ask. After this term is done, illegal residents have to pay a fixed penalty to police and immigration bureau. What will happen if the person is not able to pay the penalty?
범칙금은 재입국을
You can
위한
see a fee imposed before re-entry.
혹시라도
There are sometimes cases where you could not afford to pay the penalty.
외국인 근로자가
We think there are certainly cases where Korean companies will hire foreign workers. So there are cases where the penalty is given to the employer and the employer pays the fee instead. So even when they cannot pay the penalty, foreign workers can depart. They can leave without paying, but there is a system to show how they can re-enter.
입국 규제가 됩니다.
If the penalty is not paid, the person is unable to come back to Korea. Is there anything about this system that relates to employing illegal residents?
이번 자진 출국 제도는
In this voluntary departure system, there is one route for the voluntary report system for foreigners staying illegally. As you can see here in this table, there are foreigners who are staying illegally and those who are illegally employed. Those who are illegally employed now have a way to leave the country within 3 months if they report voluntarily, in the case that they are illegally employed, not a situation where they are illegally staying in the country.
그 제도에서
Illegal employees who are voluntarily reporting now have the possibility to depart within 3 months. This is for those who are illegally employed, not those who are in the country illegally. If you are working illegally, sometimes it is your company that took action without permission in advance. In this third type of case, the company has to pay a fine for hiring foreign employees. In this third type of case, the company has to pay a fine for hiring foreign employees illegally. In that system, the employer voluntarily reports, so its foreigners can return. For 3 months, foreigners in the situation have an opportunity. Therefore, this time, the voluntary departure and exit is a system for foreigners, and at the same time, employers who are currently hiring foreigners illegally can also voluntarily report. Please report voluntarily, but you will be fined. We charge the penalty for illegal employment, which is only 30%. We are operating a voluntary reporting system that charges 30% and opens the way for employers to formally and legally use foreigners under the system.
Thank you for answering many questions, perhaps through Cosmos TV. Would you like to say to people who are staying illegally beyond their current period of stay?
이번 자진 출국 제도는
As I explained, the International Voluntary Departure is a system created to cover the present and the future. Also, it is a system that takes into account any newly illegal residents. Therefore, many people can reject it. They may think that it is an unreasonable idea. I guess some people may think the system is complicated and that they need help from a lawyer or somebody in order to understand it, and that will cost them even more. This is a system where the individual involved must do each step of the process themselves. When you go to the immigration office, you have to meet them directly. Before you leave, you have to receive the departure letter at the airport yourself. Since you have to do everything directly, there is no need to pay any additional costs. So, if you prepare well, even a bit, you can receive benefits under the system without any additional costs. After March, between March and June, if many people will leave at the same time, it will be hard to purchase flight tickets. The air ticket prices will go up, so if you have decided, we recommend you to consider preparing for your departure quickly and leaving before it becomes busy. Consider that if you go out first, you can come back sooner. So if you are thinking it is complicated and you need the help of a lawyer and it will cost more, it really isn't like that.
Thank you. It's time to end the broadcast. Lastly, you have final opportunity to convey anything you would like viewers who are watching Cosmos TV in Korea or abroad to hear.
코스모스 TV를 보고 계시는 많은 분들이 계실 텐데요. 주변에 혹시라도 체류 기간을 넘기고
There are a lot of people watching Cosmos TV.
있다면 이 제도를 널리 알리고
If there are people who are staying here illegally, I would like to let them know about this system so they can benefit from this opportunity. Also, if there is anyone who intends to enter the country with the intention of illegally working in Korea or illegally overstaying the period of their permitted entry, this system of fines will be operated in the future. If you do work or overstay illegally, then in such a situation, you will have to pay fines rather than enjoy the same benefits as before. So please do not think about working illegally.
Thank you. Today we talk a lot with the Immigration Bureau about illegal foreign residents. I hope this interview will be great help for illegal residents who live in Korea. Lastly, we will guide you through the process of returning to your country and entering Korea again. First, if you want to leave, please bring your passport and your upcoming ticket by June 30th. After completing and submitting a self-immigration report of the Immigration Bureau, the Bureau will receive an exit order. The departure order will state the departure and date considering the subject circumstances. Everything will be fine if you leave the country within that time. On the day before departure, you must visit the immigration office at the airport or post 3 to 4 hours in advance to submit a departure order and obtain a voluntary departure confirmation. You will see the issue number at the top of your self-departure confirmation. This is the number you need when you apply for a visa. You must bring the voluntary departure certificate and have checked it upon departure at the airport. Cosmos TV express our deepest gratitude for the interview from Mr. Young Jang-sik, and head of the Immigration and Foreign Affairs Division of the Immigration Office. Viewers, please subscribe and hit the likes button. Thank you very much. 사랑합니다.